Here is how today's event will go. We will start with a made-up opening line to a story, either one from my list or provided by the audience. For the first one, we will go with one from my list. Each of our 4 authors will take turns adding to the story a few sentences at a time. After every author has gone once, it will be your turn, audience, to add to the story. So have your fingers on your keyboards to suggest the next few lines of the story. Then it will be back to the authors for another round and so on. Each author gets one free pass for the entire session to skip their turn if they get stuck and can't think of anything to add. That free pass can also be translated as I've directed with my authors. If they say plot twist, I will spin this device and we will get the plot twist that helps move things along. Or if they say free pass, which means they're giving themselves a pass, the audience will be the one to contribute that particular point. Be ready, audience, not only to add sentences to the story when it's your turn, but be ready to suggest an amazing plot twist at any moment if the author needs to tag you in. Is everybody ready? All right, let's go. Let's bring on the authors. So our participating authors are Laura Blackwell. Laura Blackwell is a Shirley Jackson Award-winning writer of speculative fiction. Her stories have appeared in magazines and anthologies, including Nightmare Pseudopod, Cat's Cast, and Shirley Jackson Award winner Aseptic and Faintly Sadistic. She is our copy editor for the Deadlands, and she and Daniel Marcus co-host the online reading series Story Hour. Next, we have Karen Heuler. Karen Heuler's stories have appeared in over 120 literary and speculative fiction magazines and anthologies, including the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, and an upcoming story in Asimov's, and has won multiple awards. The Splendid City is her 10th book. Third, we have Kristen Marmo. Kristen Marmo writes action-packed, young adult science fiction and fantasy stories with heart. Every choice has a consequence, and she examines our choices through her character-driven storytelling. And last but not least, we have Anne Keck. Anne traded her lawyer's hat for a writer's pen and now writes science fiction and fantasy. Her short stories appear in multiple anthologies, and she's immersed in completing her first novel set in a dystopian near-future world. When not writing, Anne swims and paddles in the crystalline waters around Maui. How nice. Okay, let's get started, authors. Are you ready? Yeah? All right, man. This is going to be a good one. I can feel it. These are all great authors. So I am going to provide the first prompt. Are you ready? Yeah. Just to call out the first order. It is Lara, Kristen, Karen, and Anne. And then the audience, I forgot the audience is in there after Anne, and then back to Lara. Are we all good with that?
Yep.
All right. Here's your prompt. Desi startled awake and blinked at the glowing eyes in the darkness. There was a cat sitting on the end of the bed and a voice coming from the kitchen complaining about can openers. One problem. She lived alone and didn't own any cats. Lara.
Honestly, I could have sworn I cocked around the dimensional portal in the bathroom, Desi said to herself. You know the problem? It's Keith. I know exactly what Keith did. That Keith
got into my portal opener again, and just, man, every time he does this, like last Tuesday, I had a room full of sardines. Where had they even come from? It was unbelievable, and you couldn't believe the smell. I mean, I'm telling you, it took me a good week. And of course, now the cats have followed the sardine smell. I mean, where are they even from?
Well, Keith said, coming into the bedroom, I see you're sleeping again. You're always sleeping. And I'm getting really tired of it. I mean, I come straight through the portal, which is not as easy as it sounds, just to see you and have a nice chat. And I even brought my cat this time because you were really curious about what a cat looks like. And yet you're totally indifferent. Why don't you ever wake up for me before I get here?
But Desi knew that Keith wasn't a real person at all, that he was just this ephemeral figment from the portal that had opened in the bathroom. She knew what she had to do. It all came down to that magic can opener, the damn magic can opener that kept on calling sardines to it and filling her house with them. So she launched out of bed, literally walked through Keith because he wasn't real. He was just this ephemeral, invisible nothing that kept plaguing her over and over again because he was so annoyingly lonely that he just latched onto her. He just became something that was like a figment of her imagination that she tended to ignore. She ran into the kitchen, found the magic can opener, grabbed it, and headed towards the bathroom.
I hate to do this, Desi said in her internal monologue. Bringing kitchen implements into the bathroom just seems so unclean and wrong. But after I inherited the magic can opener from Grandma, she did say, use it whenever you need to. It's important. And I thought she was talking about her arthritis, but clearly she knew something when I moved into this apartment that had been so mysteriously vacated the year before. Wait a minute. Did they say the previous tenant was named Keith? His name was Keith.
Urban. No, that can't be right. Wasn't that some sort of singer from somewhere? Yeah, not that guy. Keith Urbane. I don't know. It didn't matter what his last name was. It's fine. But the thing is, he's here, not here, with all of his cats who no doubt came after the sardines. And all I need is some peace and quiet. He's standing here telling me I shouldn't be asleep, but it's 4 a.m. And I need my sleep. I don't know what time it is on his dimension. Keith. Now he's not even answering me. Keith. What? Oh, oh, now you're going to pay attention? Great. I need you round up all these little felines and go back to where you came from. I got things to do. Or you could follow through on our bet. Oh, man, I thought he'd forgotten about the bet. Oh, well, Desi thinks to herself, I can't make good on that bet. I mean, everybody knew I couldn't make good on that bet. I'm a little bit famous for it. Ah,
And besides which, I hate sardines. I can't stand the smell. Why did I ever agree that I would make dinner from all the sardines? I can't cook. I can't stand the smell. And it just brings in more cats. I have to get rid of the whole bunch of them. I'll have to admit that I can't cook, certainly not sardines. Then they keep multiplying somehow. Well, sardines is definitely the first step. I'll just have to gather them all up and fling them through the portal, and the cat will follow, and then Keith will follow. It's the only way out of the situation. So she began gathering sardines and flinging them into the bathroom, which was right next to the kitchen. But the odd thing was, the sardines started talking to her. She didn't like what they had to say either.
Oh my gosh, was this another figment of our imagination coming to life again? I mean, that magic can opener, it didn't just open the portal in the bathroom. Hopefully, it also had the ability to close it, but it also kind of gave life to her internal thought processes and her whimsy. And her whimsy had always been to think about how fish must talk with each other, and so why couldn't we talk with them? And now she's got the fish talking with her, and they were supposed to be dead. So this has to be her mind going sideways once again. But the fish were saying something that she was kind of starting to pay attention to, which was that there was a way to fix all of her problems. There was a way to get rid of Keith. There was a way to avoid paying the bet that she had lost earlier. And there was a way to prevent any of this from ever happening again. And the key was that damn magic can opener.
So I'm going to break in with an audience suggestion right now that the sardines are actually intergalactic spies, and that's why Keith has been sneaking them into from another dimension. So that's audience plot twist, I guess.
So the sardines are saying, get rid of Keith. Keith is the real problem here. I don't know. I mean, Keith's annoying, yeah, but are dead sardines really supposed to be giving me advice? It just, I mean, I know but wait a minute. They have a funny accent. Like they're from, what, is Keith talking again? Keith says they're from another dimension? Wait a minute. Okay. I took a class on ocean biology in college and I got a C plus, but I'm pretty sure that if sardines are schooling somewhere, something's going to follow them that's bigger and eats sardines. And that would be
A real problem. Desi grabbed a mop. Okay, out through the portal. She's opened it again, and the amount, she only has like a finite amount of time, a very short window to get these sardines out of the portal. Through, it's now in the she's been able to open it in the kitchen. I'm sorry, the bathroom sink. Okay, get them out. She's hurling them. Have you ever tried to pick up a bunch of wet sardines who are now chortling at you, trying to tell you life advice? Why are these sardines trying to give me life advice? Shut up. Get in here. Get in the bucket. Get in the bucket. And they're flopping out. They're flopping out of the bucket. Get in the bucket. Get in the bucket. They're flopping out. Who's this cat? Keith, get your cat. No, I can't get my cat. This is not a cat. He's a being. He's a very important spirit guide. This is not a cat. Anyway, get the sardines or get out of here. Sardine looks up at me, Desi, and says, "You don't know who you're dealing with." Desi says, "You're damn right. I don't know who I'm dealing with, but I don't care. Get in the bucket. Get in the bucket. Get out of here." And she's flopping them down the sink, sweat's pouring down her back. She's only got 2 minutes.
And she doesn't care what those sardines are saying anyway. Even if she could tell that Keith is recording them, could Keith be a spy? Or could the sardines be the spies? Maybe everybody's a spy. Doesn't really matter in the end, though, since she wants to get rid of all of them. The cat, Keith, the sardines. Despite all her efforts with the bucket, there's still sardines flopping around and talking. Of course, they seem to be constantly talking. So the only thing she can think to do in order to get rid of all of them is to say, "I have the nuclear code. Who wants the nuclear code?"
All of a sudden, the sardines stopped flopping around. Everything went still. The three cats who were in the kitchen were like statues. Keith, who had been yelling in the background, yeah, she wasn't paying attention to what he was saying. His voice went dead silent. In fact, it was almost like everything had frozen in time. Nothing was moving. And a voice came down to her and said, you don't really have those codes, do you? Because if you do, we're going to need them right away. And the light shone down from her, and this enormous, I mean enormous potato masher appeared above her ceiling as if it was lowering itself down her. And she was afraid that, yes, this was another magical kitchen instrument. And as it got to her head, it shrunk to the size of a regular potato masher. She grabbed it off of her head, swung it around, and said, "This ends here and now." And as she said that, the potato masher exploded in a bright light, sprinkles of glitter that covered everything around her and made it so that she was all of a sudden feeling the most euphoric.
Absence of sardine scent. Oh, thank God. All the sardines had dissolved into glitter, and she smelled not sardine, no, thank God, not sardine, but gardenia. Oh, that was so much nicer. Oh, so much nicer. Okay. She picked up the magic can opener again and said, "We're going to open a portal to a better dimension right after I caulk this one in the bathroom. And I think I want the next dimension to be..."
Much sweeter, much nicer, much more comfortable. She picked up the magical can opener and looked at it for a moment and said, "Now wait. This is magic. It doesn't only work on cans. I bet there's something else it could open, a nicer portal somewhere else." So she looked around her apartment very quickly and she said, "I'd like to be in that show that I like so much." So she turned on the TV, got her show on, and then her can opener opened the screen all the way around. She flipped it open and stepped inside, and she was totally in a new world where everything was just wonderful, wonderful, and everybody had good scripts. The dialogue was fabulous. And even her dialogue was fabulous. She had finally reached the end of the rainbow, the golden pot, the treasure hunt, everything was all hers now. So she put down her magical can opener and stepped deeper and deeper into the scene. Oh, that's it.
One thing, which was the last episode of The Love Boat.
That excellent. That is excellent. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, audience, for contributing there. I enjoyed the sardine chaos that came out of that story. So rather than put it off, let's jump right into the next one. Authors, don't forget to maybe check the audience response. Otherwise, I may jump in like I did after the fourth person with an audience suggestion, as it's not really a plot twist. It's just their contribution to the story. So are we ready? Moving right along.
Yep.
Next order will be Anne, Karen, Laura, and Kristen. You good? Setting your heads?
Yep.
Cool. Don't forget about the I want to finish with the moose ears, moose antlers.
That's right. Okay.
Is that what this was, Karen?
I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
That's okay. Moose antlers. All right. All right. Here is your prompt. This one's in first person, so don't forget that part. I came awake all at once and scrambled to sit upright in the white room. I glanced around the bare space as the memory of how I got there assailed me. And Anne, go ahead.
It was completely white with nothing to give me any kind of hint as where I was or how I got here. You know, I put my head in my hands thinking, what am I going to do? And pushed my hand against my head and all of a sudden felt, what is that? I felt both sides of my head. There were these horns, these like small horns that were starting to come out of my head. Little ones, not big ones, little horns. And I put it around and they were like coming out and they were spirally and they started to kind of twist inward. And I thought, what the heck? No, I don't know where I am, but I know who I am, and I know that I don't have any kind of other race or creature in me. I know my mom really well, but you know what? My dad, maybe he had something that makes me magical. Maybe there's a reason that I'm here that has something to do with my horns.
And she looked around and saw right next to her there was something like a weird harmonica or flute, 5 or 6 pipes sloping down. And she said, oh, that looks familiar. So she picked it up, breathed into it, and there was music, a different tone from each pipe. I make music. That's what I do. Oddly enough, she hadn't looked down at her feet at all until then, and she saw that her feet were actually goat's feet. And then she looked and she noticed that her legs were actually furry. And she thought, this all comes together, but I'm not quite there yet. I know what it is. I should be up and leaping around. So she got up, leapt around, walked out into the corridor, saw a door to the outside and took it. And then she started making music and hopping. But when she got outside and tried to do that, she was suddenly pelted with snowballs. This is odd, she thought. Snowballs? Aren't we in a garden? I wonder how I got here. I wonder why I can't remember. There was something about some other kind of animal. Oh, yes, I know what it was. It was.
Right. I was playing that role-playing game, and whenever Beverly, the game master, is stuck, she always puts us in a 10 by 10 white room, and we don't know how we got there. That's right. I was, that's right. I remember I was playing a human. I was playing an ordinary human who works in an office, and it was so exciting. It was so much more fun than being a daughter of Pan and like, just running around playing the pipes and getting people drunk all the time. What I miss the most is about that office is
The music. My coworker would play these smooth jams from his cubicle, and I would just like, yeah, listen to that. I can't play anything like that on this pan flute. I tried, but I can't get anywhere close to the synthesizer sounds of those smooth jams. But I'm going to keep trying. I stepped down into the crunchy leaves and thought, maybe there's somebody here, somebody in the forest who understands smooth jazz. Maybe there's someone I can talk to that understands those sweet rhythms. Let me see. Who would it be? Where would I find them?
I had to think back really hard to remember who was playing this game with us at the time. I'd managed to escape the room, but I know there were 4 other people along on our adventure in the office building, but now I'd slipped sideways into another game. Maybe if I could just remember who it was who'd made that jazz so good. It was the bard, the guy who was playing the bard in the game. He wasn't going and playing my flutes. He wasn't playing that super boring medieval music. God, you can only take so much of that music. Instead, the 1920s jazz scene was just amazing. And it was this bard. He was the one who knew it. He's the one I need to find. But the question is how to do it. I had my pipes, and I think the issue is I need to call him somehow to get from that office building that everybody was in and listening to jazz and pull him into this garden. Thought about how to do it, and I came up with a plan.
So I looked around and there was all the snow on the ground, and I picked up some snow and made it into snowballs, and I just started hitting everything I could see. I hit some bunnies, I hit some birds, and finally I knew that if I kept going, I was bound to hit some part of the bard, because the bard is everywhere or mostly everywhere. Is really hard to know. Um, I just kept throwing things. And oddly enough, all of a sudden, there was this one beautiful bird that was singing absolutely fantastic melody. I stopped for a moment. I just stopped because I had to listen. And then I realized it was the bard. The bird was the bard. The bard was the bird. I would have to somehow control the bird to get to the bard, but I didn't know how exactly.
Do birds like? Birds like bird baths. Birds like bird seed. Bird seed. I'm in a garden. I'm in a garden. I'm going to, okay. There's some dead flowers here, wilted from the cold. I'm just going to pull out some seed heads and sprinkle them. Sprinkle them. That's right. That's right. That's right. Keep eating. That's right. Come here, birds. Come here, bird. Yes. Yes, bird. Oh, it's so good to hear this girl from Ipanema sounding just this, like that perfect elevator music sound again. Okay, bird. That's right. Come right here, bird. I need you to take me to the office where you're my coworker, Frank, in the next cubicle. Yes, bird. That's right. Be Frank. Yes. I see the plume on your head starting to lie down and the feathers starting to thin. In a minute, you're going to be bald and you'll be Frank. And you'll turn to me and you'll say,
Do you want to go grab a coffee down the hall? And it'll be great because it's so benign. And that's so unlike my normal everyday where I have to fight for all this attention from, everybody wants to hang out with my dad. And he's the cool one. Everybody wants to, get FaceTime with Papa, but nobody cares about me. And I'm cool. But when I'm in the office, Frank is like, hey, Pamela, because that's my office name. Don't you want to come on down the hall and we'll just grab a lukewarm, slightly bitter coffee? It'll be, not much to talk about. And that'll be great. You're
You're
muted.
muted, Kelly.
Per audience suggestion, as she's intensely wishing for the bird bard to take her back to the office and be Frank, everything whites out around her. And that white light slowly morphs into that of the fantastic fluorescent lights she remembers from the office. And she hears in the background the sound of sensible heels clicking across the office tile. She knows then that she has gotten her wish and she has transformed from Pamela back into Pamela.
Thank goodness the game master heard me and trying to call to Frank. I am once again here in the amazingly boring office. I know people think it's boring who have lived in it, but if you have to live in the shadow of Pan and in the caves and in the leaping through the meadows, this amazing office building was just so quiet and sterile. that it allowed for that jazz music to come through even faster. So Pamela, I'm sorry, I went down to the room where I knew that Frank had been last, and there he was. But he was no longer wearing his office suit. He was dressed in this most bizarre, sparkly sequined outfit. And, and I said, Frank, I thought we could go and grab the really bitter coffee down the hall, but what are you dressed as? Because I really want you to go and help me play that jazz again. It was amazing. And Frank said, oh no, sweetie, I'm sorry. Jazz is so over. It's disco now. Want to go dance?
I think that was the end, wasn't it?
Oh.
No?
Kelly, you're still muted.
You tell us. You guys are the you're the authors. Does somebody want to take
Karen,
it farther?
I'm sensing a office themed holiday party. Do you want to go with that, Karen?
So it's disco and we're all set up in the meeting in the conference room. And it's just going to be, there are streamers, there are balloons, there's absolutely everything down there. And you can choose from donuts and cupcakes, all of which are stale. And we've already got some of that bitter coffee there. It's going to be a blast. Everyone you've ever met in your life is going to be there. And she thought, I thought to myself, oh my God, not everybody in my life. The reason I like white rooms that are empty is because I hate everybody in my life. And the only thing I've ever liked was to sit in this office with the fluorescent lights because they are so soothing and so calming, and they make me look bad. And I like looking bad, and I don't like people. And this party thing is just a nightmare for me. I'm just not going to go there. Frank, you know all this about me. I don't understand why you would want me. I don't understand why you're actually participating in this party. You look goofy. So no, the answer is no. I will not go to your party. And you'll have to find someone else to take. You've dropped down very low in my opinion. And actually, I never want to speak to you again. So go to the party. Leave me alone. Yeah.
And Frank said, well, I'm really surprised, Pamela, and really disappointed. You know, everyone in accounting was looking forward to seeing you. And your boss was talking about maybe like discussing your most recent performance review. So I thought it was going to be a lot of fun. And I thought, gosh, he really does think that's fun, huh? Maybe a party with boring people is even more boring than my spreadsheets. Huh. I decided that I would just stand in the hall for a minute and think on this while Frank turned on his platform heels and stomped down the hall in a way I really thought might not be good for his ankles. And as I was standing there trying to decide if the party could possibly be as boring as my ancient beige CRT monitor and everything on it, who should come down the hall but
Daddy. Ugh. Honestly, I am here trying to have my own boring time. You're gonna roll up in here and make it cool. You're gonna make it the thing. I don't want the thing. I'm in this because I want to be bored. Okay. Why do you think I just sat down in front of a spreadsheet for 2.5 hours staring at it? Just, making a little tweak here, a little tweak there. I didn't change anything. It was great. Nobody asked me to do anything. It was great. All I did was just stare at the screen. It was great. Now I want to go down to the boring party and talk to the accounting people, huh? Because Jen's going to be there. He might be there and he might not talk to me. He might talk to me and I don't care. You know what? That's what's great because I want boring. But Dad, you're going to make it a thing. And Pan pulls out his large pan flute and he says, "You damn right, baby. I'm going to make it a thing." And he starts wailing away. And before you know it, forest animals have filled the office. There's little bunnies in hats. There's squirrels in tutus. There's a hawk with I don't even tinsel coming out of his. He's got tinsel and he's going to the party. And I'm like, oh, you just can't let me have my thing, Dad. You can never let me have my thing.
Let's finish it up.
Pan put down his flute and all of the partying animals quieted around them. And he said, you know, Panela, I did let you have your thing, and I'm fully supportive of you doing this crazy office boring thing. But here's the thing. It is the holiday season. And what we do with the holiday season is we get together with the people who we love. So I wanted to come and party with you, not with these guys. I mean, you guys, the rest of you can scram. Go ahead, scram. I'm going to spend some time with my daughter because you know what? I'd like you to teach me how to play jazz. Would that be okay? I thought, you know, that's the first time my dad has ever asked me. Wait, let me think about it. I think it's the first time he has ever asked me to play with him something that I wanted to play rather than something that he did. So he said, "Come on, kid, let's go and play what you want to play. And maybe, just maybe, we can have the best holiday season ever."
Awesome. I think that's a good finish. Nice. I enjoyed that one. We have about 10 minutes left. So we're going to do a short couple pass-throughs of 1/3 story, or a last story here. Karen and Kristen Lara. Are we good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody good? All right. This one's going to be a shorter one. Heralds announced the king's proclamation far and wide. The smartest woman in the land would become queen. And go ahead, Karen.
Well, of course, Crystal knew she was the smartest woman in the land. She always had been. She always would be. It came quite naturally to her. But she'd always been accused of too much pride. So she had to balance her natural genius with an absolute need to tone it down a little bit more, so she could show people that she was not only the smartest woman, but also the most modest. So she decided the best thing to do is to just take a walk and cool down a little. So she went out she went out on a pathway that led to the forest, and in a mile or so she came across, she saw a pair of shoes in the road. So she looked at the shoes and she noticed there was butter in them, both shoes, butter. Now, it looked like butter, but the only way she could possibly be sure was if she tasted it. So she put her finger in it, and lo and behold, it actually was butter in these two shoes. She put them down and looked ahead, and there was another pair of shoes. And when she got there, she saw it was jam. So she put her finger in it, took a taste, and yes, indeed, it was jam. Now, that was very curious. So she thought to herself,
This must be Bernadette's work. There's no other person who would have a row of butter and jam shoes happening. And you know what? That means I got real problems because I thought that Bernadette was gone. I mean, maybe, oh, I didn't want to have to go head to head with Bernie for this job. All right. I better get serious. So Crystal grabs, she pulls a bag, a sensible bag, a tote bag out of her larger bag, because of course Every smart woman carries multiple bags, and she uh, g- grabs up all the shoes and she puts them in the bag because maybe if other if she could lessen the number of people that saw the butter and jam shoes, then she's lessening the number of people that knew that Bernie was back.
And Bernie, she was she wasn't as smart as Crystal was. That everybody knew that. But she had one thing that Crystal didn't, and that was wings. Yes, Bernadette was one of the fairy folk who lived in the area, and the fairy folk all specialized in treats. Crystal was really worried that all of the shoes with the butter and jam she'd been picking up had been leading her slowly but inexorably to the court of the Fairy King, and where Bernadette had pretty much insinuated herself into the politics of the court, so that she had gained prominence and a bit of power that really was very disturbing to Crystal, because it could ruin her chances to become queen. So she picked up her multiple bags and headed down the road thinking, I'm just going to go and bring and present myself and go and talk with them face on, because there's something I'm known for, and it's tactless truth. So I'm going to go in and tell them, this is not how you go and do it. This is not how you make a play to be the queen of our land. This is how you
This is how you get rid of all those shoes full of milk that people leave out in the evenings. You put them in other people's shoes and they turn them into butter. Yeah, I get it, Bernadette. Super smart. Fill one shoe with blackberries and you turn them into jam. Fill the other shoe with milk and it turns into butter. Ooh, you're so clever. You're just a homemaker. That's all you are. Call yourself a smart food scientist, Bernadette. Crystal was very, very huffy about this. What made Bernadette think that she was so smart, anyhow? All she knew was this kind of real life stuff. Crystal was an absolute genius of complete tactlessness and nuclear physics, who just wasn't very good at
Peopling. It was something she was working on. But actually, if she was frank with herself, she wasn't working on it very hard. So she marched to the Fairy King's treehouse and climbed the ladder. It was rickety, honestly. Why wouldn't a Fairy King have a better entrance into his lair? But he did not. She was miffed. She'd left her bag of shoes at the bottom of the stairs, happy that someone else could take them if they wanted to. That's fine. She opens the small door. Well, she did. She opened it without knocking. Yes, she was ready to be tactless. She was ready to be truthful. She slams open the door. Ferdinand, I've had enough with you. You sent Bernadette to stalk me. I know that you sent Bernadette to throw me off my trail. I will be queen. I will not be deterred.
However, Bernadette was just right behind her, down below, and she heard all of this. So she immediately ran home, toasted a bunch of bread, ran back to the king's treehouse, ran back to the king's treehouse, remembering to take the butter shoes and the jam shoes. So she ran up to him and said, Your Majesty, are you hungry? And he said, I'm starving, but there's nothing here for me to eat. So she took out the toast, she took out the butter, she took out the jam, and she luckily remembered to bring a knife. So she quick made him butter and jam sandwiches while Crystal sneered. And the king immediately made her queen of the whole land. And there was enough buttered bread and jam to spread throughout the kingdom, and everyone lived happily ever after.
Except for Crystal.
Well done. Except for Crystal.
Crystal.
Something tells me she will not be working on her people skills anytime soon after that defeat. So, defeat.
Something also
choose and
suggests
defeat.
she may not really have been the smartest woman in the land.
It's true. It's true. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
you can be very intelligent, but if she didn't have the common sense to know when somebody's hungry, you know, you got to grease the wheels with butter, apparently.
And also, I
jam.
think we do need to consider she ate butter out of a shoe.
This is also true. That was my first thought, actually, at the beginning of the story was like, hey, I wonder what this is in a shoe. Let me taste it. And I'm not tasting anything out of a shoe.
That you find at the side of a road or otherwise.
Yeah. Ooh.
Right. Or otherwise. Maybe especially otherwise, because I know where all the shoes in my house have been. So,
Well, at least it's lucky that it was a toe jam.
oh, no, you went there. On that note, do the authors have any final thing they want to say real fast? Because we have, well, I guess it's 2:55 now, so too late.
I think
It was
Laura might
fun,
be
everybody. We
traumatized.
had a really good time.
Yeah, that was really
love
fun.
working with y'all.
Good holiday.
Awesome.
Great time.
So that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for everyone who came today.